All right, so everybody, welcome. Week 7. Here's the results. Life West over Beantown, 58-7. Colorado over Twin City Amazon, 66-0. And then All Blues, New York, 29-7. So they were all pretty fun games to watch, actually, because there was a lot of scoring and there's neat breakaways. So that was awesome. And then let's just get right to it, I guess. Tim, you wanted to go first this week?
If that's okay.
Yeah, let me find your game. Okay.
So had a game at home. It was Life West versus Beantown. I went in with trying to play a, relatively open game. Continuity typically is something that I value, and was coming in to set a high standard around the breakdown and space. Fortunately, I don't know if I really accomplished that. And I think in talking to Bob, I think when you give a team like Life West that kind of advantage, it kind of leans towards them quite a bit. And I think there was opportunities that Bob and I talked about to maybe tighten up the game, make it more kind of crisp and concise. And then besides all that, I think there were some issues in the scrum. I identified it, I saw it, I talked to her about it, and I never fixed it. I never penalized the tight head for Life West, who was just tired often, just standing up and kind of picking up the player. Identified, I talked to her, and then I didn't actually fix it. So that's on me. And I'll let Bob chime in.
Yeah, I thought he thought overall had a really nice game, and I enjoyed that. The conversations that we were talking about is that I could tell that he really came into this game. He was really focused on the breakdowns. That's wonderful and everything else. But in his decisions on some of the breakdowns and allowing, he wanted continuity of play, but in doing so, sometimes he sacrificed, clean, open play or ability to set standards early. And sometimes when you do it that way without setting that first standard, it kind of led to a little player confusion. They eventually got it and things went on, but we just had that conversation there. We did talk about the scrum. I do have a clip to show everybody, and he had a few clips as well, but I think he summed it up pretty well.
Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Oh, there's your.
So yeah, we can start with number one.
Okay.
This was very early in the game. The context of this, I had already penalized Life West for not rolling in the tackle. And this is, a couple phases later. And if you just play it through, there's two instances that I feel like I could have penalized Beantown to been a little more fair. Yet I played through them because Life West was kind of playing through it, but I think it was an opportunity that I missed to set a higher standard for Beantown at the start. Tackler in the way, right there. I mean, attempting to get out, but
Yeah, it's there if you want it.
Yep.
Tim, I'm at no for that. I like that you didn't blow the penalty there just because they were able to play the ball how they wanted.
Amanda, there's actually another one, I don't know, maybe two phases after that. And it's similar. It's like you could play through it, but I also see kind of the idea of setting a standard, and the player was trying to get out. So
Is it
but yeah, I mean,
you want me to play this longer?
Yeah, played a little longer.
Okay, my bad.
One phase, this one's pretty clean, and then this next phase gets a little
6 out!
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, so it's like the same thing. Players are trying to get out of there. They kind of get clean ball, but I think it was just, as Bob said, an opportunity. 3 minutes in the game to set a standard. You're, 60 meters out. There's no harm here. Anyways,
Yeah, well, in this one, it's a little different because the 9 literally falls.
I'm not doing it.
So it does
the
take a-
9 was really good in that they were trying to milk a lot of these. Player, they're no, I can't get the ball. It's and so a little bit of me was like, you can get that ball. You could play out, but so.
Yeah, I agree. My thought process is playing through with it. I was okay with it. And I agree with comment earlier that, they were able to get the ball away quickly. I think the 9 was trying to milk that going into the 9 the way she did when the ball was definitely there for immediate play. However, quick and easy, it's clear and obvious that could have been an early Sanders setter. So it's up to the ref there.
Yeah, and it was there for me to have, as I meant to say.
Yes,
Maybe you should have
exactly.
taken it. So
I love that. Yeah.
All right.
So this is a little awkward positioning on my part. There was offsides. The AR called it in, but I think I could have played through this one. So I'll just let people kind of see and decide and see what they say.
That's fine, that's fine. Ready? Offsides or not? Out!
And my positioning could have been better. I could have stayed
Offsides or not?
forward facing. They come up. It's a little awkward. I poke my head through. I see them. I get them on sides. The AR's like offsides, offsides, offsides. And I listen to them. I call it. But Life West, they passed it back 8 meters. They had clear opportunity, and here's
Yeah.
where I could have kept continuity and not.
They listened to you and got on side when you asked them to, so might be one to play through once they've been compliant.
But I'll let Bob walk through this one. This was one where I had a kind of dissent, or I was, I heard 13 makes a big comment to me, and I don't clearly kind of communicate that. And
Play through it and just. Yeah.
Back 10, guys. Back 10. Marcus here.
So clearly you can tell Tim's a little frustrated, right? And he gets that call and he just blows his whistle. He just walks off and he just says back 10, right? So everybody's like, okay, right? And I was like, that's fine. It's great that you called the dissent penalty. Let's have that secondary and let's make sure that Beantown clearly sees everyone why they're being marched back, in that sense, and that's all I stated on here. If you're going to do it, that's great. I think it's wonderful. Let's just let them know, make it clear.
Yeah, good secondary. If not a word.
Yeah.
Beauty.
then this last one, let's play it and then pause it right as the tackle happens. And this is one of those like expected outcomes. It feels like it should go one way, but so anyways, I guess I want a waterfall and hear what people would think here. So we'll play it and we'll pause it as soon as the tackle happens.
Good.
Yep. So I guess
Okay.
your options are, the ball, I guess, should the ball stay with Life West, or is that poacher kind of in a good realistic position to get the ball? And then there's part of it that the tackler is, on the wrong side right now, but what should be going on in your head, or what are you thinking is going to happen in the next 2 seconds? Second, I guess.
Okay, so on the count of 3, I guess type in the expected outcome. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so a lot of people think red will get to poach.
And red did. And in my head, I was like, as it happened, I was like, ooh, is this the right one, the right call? Ends up that they Beantown kicks it directly out, and so Life West gets a line out right there anyways, so it's kind of nullified.
Yeah, I mean, this one's tough, right? Because is she going to skirt the gate? Is she going to release before she plays the ball? Yeah, but good enough. I think it's the right outcome. Anybody want to argue for Life West?
And then I think Bob had
Yep.
scrum here.
Bob, you get 2 scrums?
Yeah, so go to the second one, yeah. First scrum of the match. All right, it's Beantown put. Go.
Play.
Fine.
Play, yes, ma'am.
Ready. Set. 1, 2, 3. Yes.
Done. Clear recognition of, and Tim admitted, yep, I saw the props go up.
Yes.
But I saw a ball go out, so I allowed play to continue. I had a word with him. I'm thinking, okay, great. Ball's still in, but you see how high this is. First scrum, do we not want to correct this? Now, next clip. Next clip is the 7th scrum. Now, between that, there are 2 other scrums with red put, and the same result is happening, right? The second one with red put, Tim does mention something, and it wasn't as obvious. The next one after that went right back up, and now this is the 4th with red put. It's the 7th scrum of the game. It's the now the put.
Ready. Set.
Breeze. Now, if you didn't see it, we'll show it again. One, we can see it's high. 2, when you see a prop's foot off the ground, it should be an immediate trigger that 1, something's dangerous. Right? My thoughts here in the process that I just want to bring out is we have an early scrum. We see there's an issue with the props. Let's manage that. Let's get that under control. He did recognize it. He did have a word, but he never followed through with that word. Here's the result. 7 scrums later, 4th one with red put. There's a pattern too. Only with red put do we see this. And then the result is a player going up in the air, which obviously we all know is dangerous. Foot in the air, we have to stop that because it's dangerous for the players. Just wanted to point out that pattern and what we don't want to see.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay. Anything else from that game?
Nope, that's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, you two. Let's get the All Blues game done so Mary and Hannah can go. Tyler, it's you.
Yep. So really looked forward to this one. I knew it was going to be a close game. First time seeing the All Blues in person, so I was looking forward to I guess a little bit of a different style from the East Coast. Tackles in space ended up being, I guess, the biggest issue for me on the day. Scrums were great, and I got to give credit to the 2s from both sides. They worked really well together to just kind of get a stable platform. They worked with me to make things easy. Didn't have any issues. 3 resets across 23 scrums, so I was pretty happy with how that went. Couple instances of some foul play, 2 dangerous tackles, but nothing crazy. But obviously the penalty count flipped half to half. So first it was against blue, then it was against gold. So I did a good job in the first half of the game recognizing blue is starting to rack up some penalties, and I had a chat with them. I didn't do a great job in the second half with the same for the All Blues. So just something to kind of keep in mind going forward. Anything to add, Wendy?
I think Tyler had a really good game, and we actually were kind of struggling to find clips to put in. Nothing wild and crazy to put in, so it was kind of interesting to talk about some really specific situations.
Yeah. So if you want to start, we could start with this play on or upright tackle.
Inside. Oh. Inside.
So Wendy and I talked through this one a little bit. On the day, I felt like both players were just going for the ball. There's definitely some head contact. I don't know if it reaches upright tackle. I think both players are making a play for the ball, but I'm happy to be wrong. And if this meets that threshold of upright tackle head contact, I'd love to know, because I'm looking at it and thinking this is okay. Both players are making a play for the ball. It seems all right. But I'm interested to see what everybody else thinks.
Tyler, do you mean, is it foul play?
Correct. Yeah. So we had head contact, but it wasn't foul play. So it was just players going for the ball. There was head contact, and we played through.
Can you
Does
play it
anyone
one more
disagree?
time?
Yep.
I think I disagree.
Mhm.
I think
So you-
for me, the ball carrier or the person who gets the ball, which I guess is New York,
Mhm.
gets it before the goal player comes in. So it's not just a rugby incident.
Okay. So you feel like Gold had enough time to know they probably weren't going to win this, slow up and make the decision to make a tackle and lower their body height.
Yeah, that ball looks closer to New York to me. But from your perspective where you are, I mean, the camera's also facing this way, so maybe that's just how it looks, and maybe it was closer in real life from your angle.
It's weird that they let it bounce, and there's like an extra bounce in there. And for me, if they get it on that first bounce, I think the player has time to kind of change their plan. But there's that second bounce that kind of sits, and so I guess I agree with Tyler. They're kind of both. It seemed to me, at least the timing in live looks like they both have an opportunity for the ball. This is play on to me.
Yeah, it also seems like New York, the ball carrier is like kind of falling a little, like she's already kind of low. So it's not like upright where it's like face to face. It's like she's low. The goal doesn't like do the best attempt to tackle, but it doesn't look like it's upright. It's like New York's kind of falling. They connect bodies. So I'm kind of with Tyler as well. Like, if it's almost like a penalty and you're mitigating because she's kind of falling down, I don't know if I would have called it because of that.
Was there a player reaction to this?
There's no player reaction. That's why I struggle with if there was even head contact.
Yeah. So everybody kind of just keeps going. There's a tackle, ball comes out, and there was no complaints. Nobody was like, oh. So in the moment, I was like, okay, great, let's just keep going. But then looking at it, I'm like, maybe there was head contact. It's one of those 50-50s where looking at it on film, I think it looked worse than the angle I had. But I'm happy that we're kind of split a little bit, because it felt weird in the moment playing through it, but there was no complaints, so I guess it was okay, if that makes sense.
I think until we have better film, it's just really hard to make a determination on some of these, you know?
Did you
So,
say
that's fair.
anything in the moment, Tyler?
No, I didn't say anything in this instance, which I think is good because I was very chatty through the match. I think too chatty. So I think being quiet here was probably for the best.
Okay.
I think if you PK that, though, I don't know that anyone's going to really fault you, right? So I think I'm okay with play on as well, but I think if you PK that, everyone will understand why as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good comment.
So first couple of weeks, I know we had talk about advantages, specifically scrum advantages and when it's over. And so we can kind of play through this one and see what everybody's thoughts are. I didn't think advantage was gained based on how the kicking had gone up to this point, but I'm interested to see what everybody else thinks.
Lost.
So the All Blues knock the ball on just outside the 22. New York recovers it. They get a kickoff, but it's not a great kick. They do clear probably 15 or 20 meters, but it's going to be a line out back to the All Blues. Up to this point, the kicking game for both teams had been pretty good. So I don't think that this was a kick that would have been equal to if they had a stable platform off of a scrum. So I came back for the scrum just outside the 22. Is that kind of in line with what everybody else is thinking, or do we think they got to kick off, they relieve the pressure, they're no longer inside the 22, just go to the line out?
Do you think this kicker is under pressure when she makes the kick?
Yes, you've got 14 who is pretty committed to the tackle. They were probably, I would say, a meter and a half away as 13 begins to kick. So I think that was enough pressure to kind of botch this kick. But this is another one of those 50-50s where I'm happy to be wrong and say, you know what, no, just go back to the line out. It's fine. They've relieved that pressure. It's okay.
I think the advantage is the right answer.
Okay.
It's close. If she'd had another second or two, maybe, but
okay.
This is Len. I would ask if she had other options,
like support another player they could have passed back to.
Anything.
Right. I believe that was the last player. All Blues had a line break. It was the wing, and I believe that player coming across to cover. So I don't think there was anybody else there in support that could have assisted in any, even if there was a tackle or something, and they could have set a good breakdown or anything like that.
Yeah, so that would help me make the decision that there really isn't an advantage coming.
Okay. Cool reframe. Thanks, Len.
Yeah. And then these last two, end of the game, All Blues are up 28 or 29-7 at this point. New York kind of attempting to get something going. Both of these are swinging arms. The second is probably worse than the first. And I try to play through both. I don't think I should have played through the second one, but they gained something out of it. So we could play through both and see if this is just something everybody be like, just blow the PK. There's no point in trying to play through something like this.
So when you say try to play through it, do you mean you played advantage or you were?
I did. Yeah. So I gave advantage in both situations.
A little bit
New York
different.
doesn't get anything. Right. But then in the second one, the All Blues break the line and get 15 meters, 20 meters. But it's more severe when you look at the arm coming over the top.
Flat! No. Contact with the head. No. Flat!
So it's going to be the contact comes from this player here.
Correct. Yeah.
Kind of hard to see on the video.
Yeah.
There it was.
So it was indirect. It was like chest, and then it slid up to the neck. Wasn't a lot of force, but it was enough that I was like, oh, this is probably a penalty. And then we had I was looking at two, they go to ground, they kind of roll through, and I was like, this isn't going to be clean. I'm just going to come back to the penalty. So I think I should just blown this right away. The second one, I think Wendy brought up a good point. If the second one, there's a good argument for a yellow card based on how it looks. So I'm interested to see what everybody thinks on this one, because they do end up gaining 20 meters after this.
No.
So
Contact with the neck.
Oh, couldn't really see it. It happened at the very beginning.
yeah, I may have cut this a little short. Yeah,
It's a little short.
Yeah, and this is like 2.5 minutes
Contact
later
with the neck.
also.
right.
No. Contact with the neck.
Yeah, it's right here.
So I think it's generally, do we want to play through or play advantage for foul play? I mean, yes, if there's there's lots of momentum here, there's lots of action happening, so I could see the argument. But I still generally, especially when this is pretty bad, I think would like to see a quick penalty, but just want to calibrate.
Yeah, no, I think we want to penalize these as much as we can, unless there's like a super great opportunity for advantage and we think someone's going to score from it. Let's just have the stance that we penalize.
Got it.
Mary, what's up? See your hand raised. Do you mean to have it raised?
Nope, not at all. Must have touched my screen.
Now you have it raised twice, which is very interesting.
I just tried to unraise it. I'll fix it.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have anything.
No, I was just trying to zoom in on my screen to see this. I'm driving, so it's sloppy.
Be careful.
Almost there.
All right. Anything else from you, Tyler?
No, that was it. Like Wendy said, it was a really good game. There was a couple, I mean, through the course of it, there were things that I kind of pinged that Wendy agreed with, things that I think are 50-50s or could change. But overall, I mean, the game was great. Both teams did a really good job of working with me and getting good rugby out. So it was a really great match. I had a good time.
Hey Tyler, I didn't watch the game, but like was it back and forth, or was it, one team kind of dominated the whole time? This seems like a game that's gonna come up again. There's a couple games that seem like they might come again, and this is one of them. Just curious.
Yeah. So early in the game, New York definitely had a lot of opportunities to get something going. They just really struggled inside the 22 to finish when they had the chances. And I mean, they had a lot of really good scrums where they had good attacking opportunities, and it was just like little things. But I think the All Blues did a really great job on defense, keeping the pressure on and forcing New York to make the mistakes. I definitely think it'll be an interesting one to see down the road again when they play later. I think it could be a closer game if New York can adjust their attack. It'll be probably a little closer on the score.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Katie put something in chat, and I was actually thinking kind of the same thing. Like,
Oh yeah.
it almost feels like it sounds worse when you say like head contact or contact with the neck. Like, why are we not blowing it up? You clearly saw contact with the neck. Why are we still playing through? So yeah, I'm curious. Like,
Yeah.
if I saw like a punch, I'm not gonna say punch advantage. Like, I would just like, it's almost like I really saw something bad,
Yeah, so I'm happy that you guys have all noticed that, because something Wendy said, she goes, so you talk a lot and the phrases you use probably are not good phrases to use. You need to adjust it. And this is an instance of that. In both of those clips, I think I say the same thing. I think the first one is contact with the head and the second one is contact with the neck. Obviously saying it, if I'm broadcast or any players around me hear that, they're like, well, shit, is he going to blow this up or he's going to play through it? So clearly that's either internalize my monologue or adjust what I need to say and say it so it doesn't sound like that. But yeah, I'm happy Katie picked up on that. And you too, Elfie. Thanks, guys.
All right. Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Sorry, Amanda. I actually did raise my hand, even though Mary did not. I was curious in terms of like playing advantage or something. Is there any determination or any factor that I would say is sort of the Lionel Messi factor, right? Where he will play through virtually any sort of contact that is made because it creates an advantage for him anyway to continue through. So like in this situation, Evan wasn't really phased, even if it was high contact, and continued on. So does that change in terms of like if that penalty is called right away and somebody is continuing on through that versus if there is contact in a way that is super problematic in my mind. That player would also sort of be taken out of the next opportunity, like likely, not always, but likely. So it's a fine line. I understand that sort of like because Evan continues to play on in the situation in this example, like, is it really like worthy of anything other than an advantage because she continues to keep going? Or if she is taken out of that play, right, would we then go like that's automatically a penalty and we understand that sort of regardless? So I guess I'm just curious on that specific version.
Yeah, so part of the argument for penalizing the second tackle that we looked at was Tyler thought it was yellow card worthy. So if we'd have penalized that and yellow carded it, like you would rather have the yellow card, right, than the advantage gained. So
yes, yeah, we would rather, sure, yeah. I mean, most of the time, unless the advantage gain leads directly to a score.
And that's
right?
the thing with foul play.
Yeah.
If it's going to lead, if it's going to lead to the try, we want to let it go. And then sometimes,
yeah, and I suppose because of the location on the field, that probably determines a little bit more as well.
Yeah, I think there's just a movement in general, unless the try is going to be scored, not to play through foul play. So.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
And I think, Amanda, we kind of agreed on that, like in our first call, right? So that's why I was like, I want to check my understanding too, that like the league generally wants to be like pretty tight on foul play.
Yeah. I mean, if it's going to be like a huge break or something, I think we can relax it a little bit, but just as an overall philosophy, let's just fall on that side of it, right? And then we all know we're kind of playing to the same standard. Cool. Who is our last referee? Tim. Nope, Tim went. Mike. Mike, that's right. And he's not here because he's in Montana. So Olivia's going for Mike.
Yep. Okay, so as you can see from this quick snapshot, it was a one-sided game. And a one-sided game presents a different mental opportunity for a referee to find balance in making the calls that need to be made, assessing what really empathy is, and I'll come back to that point, and then making sure you keep both teams fair, legal, and respect the dominance. I like how you laughed at my last phrase. So if you scroll down, Amanda, you can see, actually, I will point out, you see a couple of scrum penalties there in the 4. So that I thought that was interesting. Note that there is one for the Amazons, which we're going to look at that clip. And the Amazons did commit more of the defensive tackle PKs just because they're on defense more, of course. Okay, it's clips. I think he's labeled these in order. So start at the first one, PK worthy or management. Yeah. So we'll just play this through and then I will kind of talk through what Mike and I talked about on this one. Did everybody see that? Or should we go through it one more time?
Yeah. I can even slow it down.
Thank you.
Long. Okay.
So at this point in the game, there'd been a couple of tries, I'm not sure, but it was clear the direction of traffic. And as a referee and you're looking for empathy and balance, take away the fact that that kick wasn't excellent. The red player deliberately puts her arm out to slow the runner, the Amazon player coming by, the white Amazon player coming by. So the discussion we had is he called the penalty. You can run shoulder to shoulder, but that is not a legal action to, put your arm out. So is this something we manage or do we penalize?
Yeah, because he penalized on the day and then he's second guessing himself in the review.
Yeah, and this is when we talked about it, it's the concept of like, what is empathy and what is respect? So respecting the player in this situation is knowing that the red player knew that she wasn't supposed to do that and calling the penalty. And so then the question to the group is that what we want to be doing, or do we want to let that play through and manage it?
Lee?
Yeah, just on that too, Olivia, it's like the respect way is a good way to frame it, but also like it's about being like, how do we keep like these cheeky things out, right? Like, because it's this one-sided game, and like also how do you take away these like flair points where they, you want to keep them in the match, right? Like, how do we keep them in the match and still playing like to the spirit of it, right? And so for me, that's why it's like, no, you blow it up, because it's like you said, it's not respectful and it's kind of cheeky, and it's like you don't want to give them a reason to think, oh, well, the game, you can do whatever you want, right? Just because of the score or whatever. But anyway, that's my thought on that.
Awesome. Tyler?
So I kind of want to play devil's advocate here a little bit. That kick, like you said, Olivia, doesn't look like a great kick. I don't think either of those players had a good chance to get it. If that kick was closer, I can absolutely see blowing that up right away and be like, no, you know what you've done, stop it. Seeing as that kick has gone away, and I don't think anybody's going to get it, can we manage that one and be like, listen, I've seen what you've done. You got to knock it off.
Oh, Olivia, are you going to answer?
Oh, okay. We're looking for a response. I think,
Sorry.
I think my viewpoint is clear. Like, call it.
Mhm.
Like, no, the player knows better. And there's no question that the player knows better. So they shouldn't do it.
Okay. We're at that point where the expectation is, you've done this wrong. Just nip it in the bud right away. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I think you can take it on a case by case basis too. Like, what kind of game do you have?
Yeah.
But for the context of this game, probably a good penalty.
Just for my like level setting, so it was like the 14th minute. Was it already decided what the score was at that point? And did that have any factor? Because
there was 2 in maybe already. It was pretty clear pretty quickly, LV.
Okay. I mean, like, knowing the teams, I could go into the game and assume that type of like, Colorado knows better. It's just more for my calibration was more like, I know if I change my line or change the running line or like get in the way, that's an issue. Is it already a no-no to like even have your hand? Because it doesn't look like it impacts the person. It's just your hand is out and then he goes back, and then it didn't look like it got in the way, unless it is a problem because of the matchup, the way the game is going already.
So I think Mike was trying to talk himself out of the penalty after the game. Right? And so he's saying, well, should I have just managed this? Should I have saved this one? And the bad kick aside, right? Like that in this situation, I don't think that should influence the decision. And think about the stage we're setting for the next game too, right? The next, because if you do that in a tight game, well, I got away with it last time. You don't want that either.
Yeah, I think it's there if you want it.
Skip the footwork. I think that's him dancing. and go empathy versus accuracy.
This is one the Colorado coach asked about too, by the way, just for
Yeah.
people's context.
We're just going to watch it. So this penalty to me didn't make any sense. And Mike was in a situation, like, I think this was like empathy put in the wrong place, if that makes sense. And if anything, it's just a good learning point.
Yeah.
Now, I'll be at this point, we're at 52 minutes and the game was definitively decided. But you know, maybe he was visually looking for something just to create balance in the penalty count, but that doesn't make any sense. So we didn't really talk through his mental state on why he made this decision, but what we talked about is he was misplacing empathy utilization.
Yeah, when we see a team move forward at that rate and be that dominant and as clean as Colorado was in that scrum for as long as they were, we need to reward that, I think. So. Last one.
Okay, so when you watch this, just do your mental checks of what is your decision or non-decision each time as you watch this.
I'm gonna. I don't know if slow motion is helping us see this any better.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I should have just played it at speed.
It's okay. You can play it again at speed. Okay, do it one more time at speed, Amanda.
Yeah, it's actually more followable, I think, in real time.
Okay, so my question to the group before that penalty, was there any point in time when you would have not played on? Would you have made a decision other than play on?
This is Tim. I would have just gone to the double knock. I mean, at the start. I mean, it seems kind of obvious. I would have just blown it up a lot earlier and said, you know, knock on by Colorado, second knock on by White, and then just given it to White. Because then it follows, and then chaos follows after this.
Well, that wasn't a knock on.
I think it's knocked backwards.
Yeah, I didn't see a knock on.
To me, it was right there because the White player stopped, but that's also me looking at a video.
I can see why that, yeah, that's a possibility.
That's what I thought. I was really confused
It
on
is
what we were
knocked by
watching.
White.
Yeah, because White knocks it. Yeah.
Back by Red and then forward by White, although it could be off her shoulder. I think it is off her shoulder.
I look at that as not a knock on by like the definition of a knock on, but
Okay.
well, so anyway, the point of this is Mike got to the end and he was like, well, was it the right outcome that Red was penalized because it was such a mess beforehand? And I think in games, there's a lot of situations where sometimes you get some tight fly hacking or just a lot of turnover. Yeah, Wendy, your get out of jail is always an unplayable. But I told him, I was like, in watching this and making quick decisions of play on, not a knock, play on. I thought this was a fine decision and not to beat himself up on it in review. So in the game, in real time, there is nothing clear and obvious from my view to call in advance of that penalty. And I think
Olivia,
that's the point. Yeah.
This is Len. You don't see that first knock by Red as a clear knock?
There it is. Yeah, you're right.
So to me, now we go back to the old axiom of we don't want to be refereeing pileups, right? That first knock is it. I mean, that's a knock to me. That's probably a knock there too, and then it just turns into a bunch of people on the ground with a ball somewhere near them.
Yeah, to me, it's like you're standing on the sideline and watching it without, back and forth. It's, it's kind of the obvious from this angle. Technically, it's probably not a knock on. It looks like it's off the shoulder, but.
Well, and look at where Mike is. I don't think he would have ever caught that.
He's in pretty heavy traffic.
Mike's so tall. He sees it for everybody.
But and that's also like and that's also where it comes on review, guys, is you referee the game in real time and you referee it from where you are. So it's also something not to beat yourself up over.
I actually like that he played on. Now, obviously, if he thought it was a knock on, he shouldn't have played on, but he didn't see a knock on, and it allowed us to have like 3 really cool turnovers. And as a former flanker, like, I love that. That's my favorite part of the game. So I appreciate that he let it play out as long as he could have.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think your point is valid, Olivia, that if we knock on the side, when we're there, let's not go hunting, because there really wasn't anything there, right? And he was very calm. And sure, when we review it and you watch it 50 times on slow-mo, you might be able to pick something up, but live, yeah, I think that's probably a really good one to breathe rather than make a guess on a 50-50.
Yep. And then we say we'd rather have you make a non-decision than a wrong decision.
100%.
So, and I will tell you, just Mike, working with Mike week to week, it's the empathy that he's really thinking about a lot right now, which is, it's a great mature place to be as a referee and kind of growing in this competition. So that's really cool for me to see him kind of honing in on his empathy.
Yeah, I agree. There's some interesting conversations you can have around that. So, all right, I meant to go over this earlier. These are the standings. So all blues at the top of the chart with 30, Colorado with 25, New York and Life West right there in the middle with pretty similar points. Beantown at 10, and then Chicago and Twin Cities coming at the end. So from my perspective, last week, 3 really good games, despite 2 of them being blowouts, but we pretty much course corrected at the lineouts. Dangerous tackles were fairly well refereed. The standard at the breakdown with regard to getting the tackler away specifically, which I think we talked about the last 2 weeks in a row, was much better this week. And then work-ons, I would say, continue to communicate color and number so that we're helping our own pattern recognition. And then a little bit of problems with space this week. So nothing too critical, but we need to make sure we've got daylight at the last foot. Give the attack space to play. Shout outs. Congratulations to Jenny. We're all excited for you. Yay, yay. She sent me a nice text earlier that she was going to be unable to make the call because everybody needed a little rest. So good news for them. Mike, thanks for refereeing last weekend when you probably should have gone to the emergency room. I don't know. I don't think the text went only to the referees, but he punctured a battery apparently, and he refereed the whole game with like this egg-sized blister from battery acid on his hand. So, yep, hot mess. And then Lindsay last week had her MLR AR debut. She's on a plane on the way to New York actually tonight, so that's why she's missing this call. She's headed out. So here's what the next few weeks are going to look like. Right now, this is like what, the 20th? So Saturday, we've got round 8. Next week, I'm on vacation all week. It's my 20th anniversary, and I'm just putting everything down and not doing any work. So we're not going to have a Thursday call. And it's also the week right before the summer break. So I figured it followed okay to take that as a break. So what we'll do then the next week is July 4th, because we've got 2 weeks off after this round. So we're going to pick up on Thursday, the 11th. And we'll either do a round 8 call review, but it'll probably be like truncated. Maybe we'll look at 1 or 2 clips rather than do a full thing, because it's going to have been a pretty good period of time. And we'll do just sort of reminders of what our standards are going to be around certain things, something like that, so that you guys have expectations. And then the 13th will be game day for round 9. And like I said, we're like halfway through the season, pretty close. So that's awesome. You're all doing a great job, and I'm having a wonderful time working with you. The coaches seem fairly happy. They've got some comments week to week, which is good. We're getting some engagement. So all real positive stuff. And yeah, that's all I got. So thanks for being here. We'll wrap up a couple minutes early, I guess. Let me see if I have one more slide about who's going to ref next week. Yep. So this weekend, we've got Tim doing All Blues Colorado, which if we notice the standings, this is a big game. That'll be a fun one to watch. So Lindsay Oliver, she's got New York Life West. Again, another big game. There's 1 point separating them in the standings. And then the Zons and North Shore, actually, even though it's the bottom of the barrel match, wooden spoon or whatever I guess they call it, it still should be a tight match just because they're both kind of in that same bracket. So we'll see. Good luck to everybody in round 8, and I will stop recording now. Maybe.